to the press release about the work of Professor Yaghi. So before we get to the Nobel Prize winner, I want to turn this over to Chancellor Lyons for a few remarks. Chancellor Lyons.
Thank you, Bob, and thanks to all of you for being on this call. It's a wonderful moment for us all, truly. Good morning. I can't believe I get to do it again. As Bob mentioned, as twice in 1 week is particularly nice. So without further ado, on behalf of the entire UC Berkeley community, I want to congratulate and celebrate our friend and colleague, Omar Yaghi, for winning this Nobel Prize in Chemistry, the most coveted and extraordinary recognition that a scientist can receive. This has been an extraordinary week for America's top public university and for American higher education. The work conducted by Omar and his two co-winners created a class of porous materials that hold enormous promise for carbon capture, water harvesting, hydrogen and other clean energy storage, for drug delivery, and catalyzing chemical reactions, among many other potential applications. Here we have a perfect example of how discoveries in fundamental scientific research and of how public investments in public higher education set the stage for the development of the new technologies, products, and services that support the prosperity, health, and well-being of people around the world. Omar's story is the quintessential American story, another unlocked American dream, if you will. Born in Amman, Jordan, he was urged by his father to come to the US to study, to take advantage of all the wonderful things this country offers, to come to a country where he could fulfill his potential and pursue those dreams. And so, as a teenager with a poor grasp of English, Omar settled alone in Troy, New York, and launched his academic career, supporting himself by bagging groceries, mopping floors, etc. Suffice it to say that leading up to the extraordinary recognition conferred by this Nobel Prize was boatloads of hard work, dedication, and creativity. Also, a willingness and ability to challenge the status quo. Also, an enormous amount of constructive collaboration and an unwavering zeal for discovery and exploration. These are the things Nobel Prizes are made of. And these are the very attributes that define UC Berkeley and make this university one of society's most valuable assets. Omar, on behalf of our university, I want to thank you for your accomplishments, your dedication to the pursuit of new knowledge, and your contributions to our Berkeley, a place where we embrace and advance exploration, innovation, individuality, economic mobility, entrepreneurship, and freedom, especially freedom of thought and expression. Today, I need to end with a celebratory correction. Yesterday at John Clark's press conference, I noted that the members of our football team recently lit up the online world with a new decal on their helmets, the number 59, the number of Berkeley affiliates who had won a Nobel Prize as of last Saturday. But I was wrong yesterday to put the new count at 60 because all three of the physics winners were affiliated in some way with our university. So thank you, Omar, for giving me another shot at this. Cal football players, today your helmets are even more out of date because 63 is the new 59. Besides, you know, being in California, it's not easy getting up so early every day. Fiat Lux and go Bears. Thank you. And now on to our Dean of the College of Chemistry, Anne Beranger. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you, Rich. Chancellor Lyons. As interim dean of the College of Chemistry, I cannot imagine a more joyous and wonderful occasion for our college and, of course, the entire Berkeley community as we congratulate and celebrate our latest Nobel laureate, Professor Omar Yaghi. You know, as Chancellor Lyons just said, Professor Yaghi's discoveries really highlight the power of combining true basic research with applications. And together, you know, Omar's brilliant work in really developing new covalent chemistry, like the most basic you could imagine, which led to the discovery of new, brand new types of materials with incredible amounts of surface area, which is very fundamental. And then the applications of these materials are immense, the carbon capture, hydrogen and methane storage, as Chancellor Lyons said, catalysts, just really without, it's just the limit of our imagination that limits what could be done with these materials to help solve the problems of today and really impact billions of people around the world. So just incredible chemistry, and I'll also add that Professor Yaghi doesn't end with groundbreaking science of both basic and practical nature, but he combines this with the desire to mentor and outreach also on a global scale. He's established, an entire institute in order to really, bring up the best and the brightest and provide opportunities across the entire world. So we are just so proud and so excited and thrilled by this our newest Nobel laureate, and we really give our heartfelt congratulations to you on this well-deserved accomplishment. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kara Mankey. I am a science writer at UC Berkeley, and I will be moderating the Q&A portion of the press conference. We ask that you please keep yourself muted, and if you have a question, leave your name and affiliation in the chat. And I will ask you to unmute yourself and ask your question. And let me know if you'd prefer that I ask. You can also just put your question in the chat and I will ask that. And like we said, I will be periodically adding the link to our press release and a folder with photos and video into the chat as well. So let me know if you need that. So Omar, to get us started, I know it's been an exciting morning for you. Could you tell us how you found out about the news and a little bit about what your morning's been like?
Yeah, so I was traveling from San Francisco to Brussels through Frankfurt, and as I landed in Frankfurt and got up to get my luggage so that I can deplane, I get a call. I can feel my phone buzzing, which is, normally people send me text, so I'm not used to the phone ringing. But so I looked at it and said, Sweden, right there. And so I answered, and the secretary of the Nobel Committee and the Swedish Academy of Sciences was on the line informing me of the fact that they have decided to award me the Nobel Prize. So that was really exciting. I talked to a couple of the committee members as well. They're all wishing me the best, but it was absolutely thrilling. You cannot prepare for a moment like that. So I was just surprised and delighted by the news. And since then, my phone hasn't stopped ringing, buzzing, receiving emails, hundreds and hundreds of emails. I have no idea how I'm going to respond to all of them, but a lot of well-wishers, friends and family and colleagues from all around the world. So yeah, it's an amazing time. It's indescribable. The feeling is indescribable, but it's absolutely thrilling. I wanted to just thank Chancellor Lyons and Dean Barringer for their thoughtful, kind remarks and their warm congratulations. And I just want to say that I am really a product of the public school system in the US. All my degrees have come from public schools, and I have always enjoyed attending as a student and working as a professor in these universities, especially UC Berkeley, where the faculty are given full freedom to explore, fail, and succeed, and still we are being supported by our colleagues and our administrators. So I just want to thank you both, but also really just say that this recognition is really a testament of the power of the public school system in the US that takes people like me with major disadvantaged background refugee background and allow you to work hard and distinguish yourself. And the system allows you to do that at these public schools. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. And I think every scientist dreams of getting that call from Sweden. So that's wonderful. Could you describe in your own words the breakthrough that you're being recognized for today?
Yeah, we discovered a way of taking inorganic building blocks and organic building blocks. These are the constituents of nature, and stitching them together to make frameworks. And these frameworks encompass space within which one can trap gases such as water or carbon dioxide or hydrogen. Even they could be designed to seek out contaminants in water like PFAS or organic contaminants from water or contaminants from the atmosphere. The amazing thing is that you can also modify their pores so that you can catalyze reactions, and in some applications where we take poisonous molecules and make them harmless molecules through their passing through the pores of these materials. I think the thing that the committee described in their announcement was that in a gram of a MOF, of a metal organic framework, that gram, which is no larger than a sugar cube, encompasses a space as large as a football field. So you can imagine how powerful these materials are in terms of compacting gases without having to use lots of energy, such as high pressure or low temperature. So I would say that that's at the core of our citation, the development of metal organic frameworks.
Thank you. First question from David Castelvecchi at Nature. David, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes. First of all, on behalf of all of us at Springer Nature, congratulations on today's award, Professor Yaghi. There had been a lot of applications mentioned in the press conference this morning, and we ourselves have covered, beginnings of attempts to capture CO2 with MOFs. But would you say that there are applications where the MOFs have, quote unquote, lived to their hype, where they are already beginning to replace other maybe competing techniques for a certain application?
Well, yeah, thank you for the question. I would say the power of MOFs is that they opened new avenues of applications that other materials could not do. For example, a MOF that the Nobel Committee cited is CAF20. That MOF is being scaled up to hundreds of tons by BASF and is actually commercialized in Canada, is already in cement plants, taking up CO2 from flue gas of cement plants before it reaches the atmosphere. So that's I don't see that as a hype. That is a implementation of science, basic science, all the way to benefiting society. So that MOF is now in three. My understanding is that it's in three plants, the cement plant. Now, cement plants are some of the heaviest polluting in terms of CO2 emission of any industry. And so this is really an amazing applications. And soon we will see products already taking up water from air to make drinking water using most efficient, energy efficient devices. So there are other applications that already reached the market, such as trapping of nerve gas and converting it into harmless products by a startup in Chicago, and I could mention others. So I think the fact that these materials are so vast, the number is so vast, and the applications are so vast, sometimes we forget that the basic things are already there, and the applications are already commercialized, some of them. Yeah. as I mentioned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, Megha Satyarayana from Scientific American. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Good morning. This is Megha Satyanarayana. I am with Scientific American, and the cement plant example is what I was actually thinking of with my question. When used in such a large scale, how do you prevent MOFs from becoming part of the pollution problem themselves when one of the lauded goals of this technology is to actually reduce pollution and reduce greenhouse gases?
Good question. I think that the chemistry of MOFs is enabling us to not just solve an existing societal problems, but that they don't become a problem in themselves, because we make them so robust. And the committee cited this in their speech this morning, that they have to function for years in a power plant so that you don't have to replenish them every time. Well, that's saving a lot of our resources. But also, the thing that I want to really say is that we have developed methods where at the end of the lifetime of the MOF, one can separate the metal from the organics using strong acid and then reassemble those using zero discharge methods and using water as a solvent. So the very chemistry that we discovered is not just about making the frameworks, which is exciting, and their applications, but also it allows this variability and this flexibility allows us to regenerate the material with zero discharge of any contaminants. So I'm very, very happy, actually, you asked that question, because not many have been discussing this out there. Yeah.
Thank you. Jonathan Allen, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? Jonathan's asked me to read the question. What do you think the biggest impacts of MOFs might be, and how might they look different in 30 to 50 years?
I think one of the things that will stay past my life is the fact that if you can think it, you can make it. Okay, if you can think up a material that you want, whether you're a startup or a professor or an emerging student trying to learn chemistry, you can actually go to the lab and make it. And this sounds trivial, but this is not so easy in chemistry. Sometimes you think up molecules, materials, and you go to the lab and you find, well, it doesn't really work the way you thought it would work. But here, with very few attempts, and now with the aid of AI, if you can think it, you can make it. And that is really powerful. And needless to say, you're building these things from nature's building blocks, minerals and organics. And so I would say that that's quite powerful. I think the future, given the variability and this precision with which these materials can be designed, I think you're going to make MOFs that operate like DNA, operate like biological systems, where a sequence of molecules arranged in a specific spatial orientation within the MOF code for specific properties. Okay, and I think that's the future.
Thank you. I'm curious also, thinking towards the future, what role do you think AI and data science will play in sort of helping to design new chemistry and new applications for MOFs?
Well, for example, we have already demonstrated in our lab as part of a new institute, AI for Materials Institute, BIDMAP, Baker Institute of Digital Materials for the Planet, BIDMAP, our work there, we've shown that, okay, it's easy to make a MOF, right? But it's not so easy to make it in crystalline form, in that perfect form, like a jewel, right? Which sometimes you do need to identify the constituents of the material on the atomic and molecular level and understand how it's put together, right? That takes time. That takes a lot of trial and error. Every chemist, If you ask them, what is the most difficult thing to do? They'll tell you, we spend 80% of our time trying to crystallize our compounds. Well, AI is helping us speed up that process. Things that MOFs that would take a year or 2 years to crystallize, we're doing that within a course of weeks, and now even days, okay, using LLMs and using AI tools. So AI, I think, is the future. I think it's intricately connected with chemistry, with MOF chemistry as well. And it's a huge direction that will enable us to ask deeper questions, make faster discoveries, and reach society much faster than we've ever done.
Thank you. Question from Bob Service. Can you share your thoughts on the state of American science and the country's willingness to be open to people and scientists from around the world?
Yeah, I mean, science is a language that allows all people to talk to each other. That's one of the few languages where we all understand chemical formulas, whether we're Japanese, Australians, Koreans, Chinese, or American. A chemical formula is universal, and the lingo that goes with that is also universal. So science allows us to talk to each other, and I don't think you can stop that. I think that that's something that will continue to be important, and enlightened societies will encourage it. So I am optimistic that we will continue to exchange throughout history scholars from even countries that you would think were adversarial. Scholars can be exchanged and learn from other scholars in other countries, and this is how knowledge was spread from one region of the globe to other regions of the globe, is through exchange of scholars and through the mentoring system that we do so well in the US, mentoring students. So, Bob, I'm not sure if I answered fully your question. I'd love, if I didn't, I'd love a follow-up.
Thank you. We have another question also about how you've benefited from federal grants and funding in your work.
Well, my very first grant was an NSF grant, okay? And I tried, it was very competitive, it was very hard to get. I didn't get it until the third trial, okay? So, but I did get it in my second year as an assistant professor, as an independent researcher. And it gave me an opportunity to do this research, to actually get the first success that led to the Nobel Prize. That was an NSF, a National Science Foundation grant. Then this was followed by a DOE grant on using these materials for separation. And these agencies go through, we went through a rigorous refereeing process. And if you didn't get almost perfect scores, you really had to get perfect score to be funded. And so this allowed us challenged us to not just do rigorous science, but also creative science. And they were absolutely key in enabling me to go off in my own direction, away from whatever was happening in chemistry in the mainstream. I wanted to do something completely different. And these grants allowed me to do it. So I really encourage us as a society to apportion some of our scientific funding to allow people to think outside the box and to encourage that. So federal grants played a major role in the initial discoveries that led to this amazing field.
Thank you. I think just a couple more questions. First, you talked a little bit about public universities and just public schools in general. Could you talk a little bit more about the role that UC Berkeley played in your work?
UC Berkeley, I call it the nirvana of science. I mean, when I was on the market as a young scholar looking for an independent position, for a professor position, I wanted to come to Berkeley. I interviewed at Berkeley, but at the time, I don't think I did a good job at the interview, okay, when I was young. Okay, I was very young at the time. But since then, my aspiration was to get to Berkeley, because Berkeley was the place, the dream place for a serious scientist to be. And it proved to be the case. You have incredible colleagues, incredible facilities, and as I said, incredible administrators that leave us to our own devices to discover and fail and succeed and build fields without interfering in the inner working of the research. So I still think after now almost 12 years being at Berkeley that it's a great place, and I don't see myself going anywhere else because I have arrived at my ideal place.
Thank you. We're getting a few more questions in the chat. First off, Maggie Donaldson with AFP, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, hi, and congratulations. I just wonder if you could expand a little bit on your upbringing and your experience as an immigrant to the United States and sort of what this recognition means to you within that context.
Well, I mean, I'm quite emotional to see my refugee parents spend every minute of their time dedicated to their kids and to their kids' education, because they saw that as a way to lift themselves and the kids out of challenging situations. I mean, that takes incredible commitment, and I was not short of love. I would say that we didn't have a lot of the conveniences that many others do, but we had a lot of love and a lot of care. I think early on, I was a very independent child, and maybe my chancellor can understand my behavior sometimes. I said to my parents that at a very early age, I think it was third grade, that I want to be left alone. I will do well in school, and I want to be left alone to do whatever I want. And I think that they cared enough about me to let me experiment and play with things and carry out my own on my own. But I was a diligent child. I grew up in a very large, rowdy family, but I was a very quiet child. I was the one that would be in a corner, sitting there doing his studies and writing his lessons and so on. But I think the key was that my father saw opportunity in sending me off to the U.S. and much to my objection, he insisted that I do that. I wanted to stay in Jordan with my family and finish college there and work there. But he saw that there's potential elsewhere and did not hesitate to send me off on a KLM flight to the U.S. So I guess in terms of my childhood, I think my break came when I really saw molecules and I fell in love with them, even before I knew they were molecules. I think that's really important to point out, is that we don't need to be as methodical and as rigorous in our planning on what we are going to do at such an early age. That you have to just figure out what is drawing you to what you're doing, what your interest is. It doesn't have to be highly deeply intellectual. It could be just a raw interest or raw passion to something. And I was fortunate that I met the molecules early in my life.
Thank you. Megha Satyaranana, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your follow-up?
So what is your advice to young scientists, given our current political and funding atmosphere, given our, current situation in which so much of science and evidence is eschewed in favor of specific political and ideological concepts. Is science still a career people should pursue in the US? What is the secret to being successful right now, if this is where you're starting?
You can't solve society's problems without science. You need science. You need materials. You need the knowledge that comes with it, and you need what knowledge leads to, and what it leads to sometimes are very unpredictable directions that lead to building industries and building wellness to society. So science is an absolute essential part of an enlightened society and building a robust society that improves the quality of life for its people. Now, science has always been challenged. There are many examples throughout history where science has been challenged with various things, various sides challenging science. And I think it's healthy for us as scientists to renew ourselves in a time of crisis or in a time of experiencing these challenges. So I wouldn't let the day-to-day events stop me from pursuing the wonderful frontiers of knowledge of science. We are capable of doing a lot with very little. Now, the thing that you have to watch out from is that doesn't mean that we should cut the NSF budget by 50% because we can do a lot with very little, because we do have to compete with other countries who also compete for our talent. So we need to make sure that we fund science to a level that allows us to excel and to compete with others. So yeah, there is without funding, you can't do science. Science costs money, and it's an investment into our future. As well, I mean, the US is a perfect example of how we built an amazing higher education system, a research system, a mentoring system, because of the funding that we receive from federal agencies enables all of that. And we are the jewel. I mean, our science is a jewel in the crown of our country. So we cannot allow that to slip.
Thank you. Bob Service, I saw you had another question. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask it?
I'm sure. Thank you, and congratulations, Omar. Yeah, I was just curious, if you could describe a little bit about how, when you were a young scientist just getting started, why did you choose to pursue this notion of creating porous materials? I mean, you could have gone in 1,000 different directions. Can you describe a little bit about the genesis of your own choice of what you decided to pursue?
Well, I had two people in my life who were very significant. My father, who constantly urged me to think differently and to go in my own direction, not to follow others' footsteps, okay? Just try to create something completely new and not to be a follower. And then somehow I was fortunate to join the group of Walter Klemper at the University of Illinois as a graduate student. And there again, they're the same lesson, except now we're talking about molecules. It says, well, I want you to make something that nobody has made before. Challenge me to go beyond what is out there. And so one is, my father perhaps taught me what ethics are and how to be a good person and so on and so forth. But my PhD advisor taught me, basically sculpted my brain on how to be a rigorous scientist, but also to think beyond what is already out there. So if it wasn't novel, it wasn't worth doing with these two characters in my who were in my life. So I would say that was quite important. but then you have to really understand that it's very risky. It requires hard work. It's full of failure, as all great things are, and you just have to sustain and believe in the power of the experiment. Right? That would be my advice to the young people, is to believe in the power of the experiment. When you experiment, when you do the experiment, you open the door to potentially make big discoveries. If you don't do the experiment, then nothing's going to happen. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I think we'll have one or two more questions and then wrap up. First, I see Kathleen Moore, you have your hand raised. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask a question? All right, not hearing from Kathleen. I'll go ahead and ask, what are your plans for the rest of the day? How are you going to celebrate?
Well, I'm in a conference, and so tonight they have a dinner. I think we're going to celebrate there, and discuss what we're going to do the following day, where I lead a discussion about complexity within order. That's basically what there's nothing else planned beyond that. The usual. Obviously, I have to reply to some of the congratulatory emails. Yeah.
I think, Kara, if that's the last question, I think we'll wrap this up. Thank you for all the great questions, and thank you, Professor Yaghi, and congratulations again on winning the Nobel Prize today. Remember, to the reporters, that in the chat are links to folders and Google Drive that have images, and we'll eventually have a video of this press conference. But have a great day, Professor Yaghi. Enjoy the rest of your day and the accolades that are going to come your way, and toast yourself today as well.
Okay, thanks everybody. Thank you. Appreciate your warm congratulations. Yeah, bye-bye.